According to Joe Cowley, the Zach LaVine and the Chicago Bulls relationship is shattered. And even if Zach LaVine does have to return to the Chicago Bulls and play with the Bulls this season, it could end up being a bad situation for everyone involved. We're going to talk about it all and more right after this.
Tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
I see red, I see red, I see red, I see red, yeah, I see red, I see red, I see red, I see.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Even though I'm in my Sky gear because we just got done doing the post-game show for the Chicago Sky, welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So this one comes from Joe Cowley of the Chicago Sun-Times, who says this. Well, there is a scenario in which LaVine is not moved and returns to the Bulls. He would do so to a locker room that would welcome him back, but a front office and ownership group that consider it the worst case scenario. An NBA insider told the Sun-Times on Tuesday that the relationship between LaVine and the team's top brass is completely shattered and filled with mistrust. That shouldn't surprise anybody. Listen, the thing with this is, and I've always maintained that Zach LaVine has his faults, and Zach LaVine has his place in the problem, but so does the front office. There is no one aspect of this Bulls franchise that is abstained or just the cause for the problems for the Chicago Bulls. And when you look at Zach LaVine and what it is, Zach LaVine has been a player that has been through the Bulls, that grew through the Bulls, that really rounded out his game and turned into the player that he was under the Chicago Bulls. When it was time for him to get his initial contract, they made him go out and sign an offer sheet with the Sacramento Kings. That was business. That was a different front office. It was 1 year after they got him. He was coming back from an injury. It made sense. He then works himself up, turns into a near 50, 40, 90 player, becoming a really good offensive player, one of the most well-rounded offensive players in the league. And then the Bulls go out. They finally build a team around him with getting Lonzo, getting Alex Caruso, getting DeMar DeRozan, getting Nikola Vucevic, right? And then he gets his money. And then since then, between injuries to Zach LaVine and the constant rumors around Zach LaVine being traded, it has led to the scenario where the front office is not happy over their investment in Zach LaVine and the money that they gave him, the largest contract in Chicago Bulls history. They're not happy with the return on that contract. And Zach LaVine is looking at the situation and saying, you guys haven't helped me be the best me either. And both sides have their own validity to their arguments, and both sides have their own fault into where the Chicago Bulls are right now. So to hear that while the locker room would embrace Zach LaVine coming back, which is good to hear, that the front office is at a point where they look at Zach LaVine returning to this team as the worst case scenario, that's major there. That's major there. And it also says this in the article. LaVine and his representation at Clutch Sports feels like they were misled on possible trade destinations, and that the Bulls thought LaVine opting for season-ending foot surgery when rehab on the injury was still on the table was a counterpunch thrown below the belt. Like I said, mistrust everywhere. So Clutch Sports and Zach LaVine feel like the Bulls lied to them on where they could possibly send Zach LaVine. You remember when I've said multiple times that it seemed like the Bulls were going to trade Zach LaVine to the Pistons, and Zach LaVine saw that, read the tea leaves, and said, no, I'm getting season-ending surgery. This report at least adds some validity to my thought process on that. So I'm not saying it's 100% true, but it is that. And it also says that there was a reason that when the Bulls released the statement on LaVine's surgery decision, they made it a point to state, guard Zach LaVine and Clutch Sports Group have elected surgery on LaVine's right foot as the next step in the recovery process. These sides don't like each other. That's where it sits right now. Nobody's believing anybody. This is like being in a toxic relationship where both sides have cheated on each other and they're both saying, no, but you can trust me now. This thing is toxic. And like I said, I'm not blaming just Zach LaVine. I'm not blaming just the front office. We got to get it together. We got to get it together when it comes down to it, man. It's unfortunate. The place that this has ended and the place that this has gone has been in a complete unfortunate place, because ultimately, even if a front office and a player has to part ways, you want it to be amicable. And for the Chicago Bulls to already be a franchise that free agents haven't wanted to come to, let's be clear here. We've gone on 20 years without free agents really wanting to come to Chicago. To now hear that the mistrust is there, all this type of stuff, it's just unfortunate yet again. The Chicago Bulls continue to be a franchise that just looks inept in every single thing that they do. Everything that they do. So, it's really unfortunate when it comes down to that. This is where we are. But, ultimately, I hope that both sides can be professional enough, because it does seem, through all intents and purposes, that Zach LaVine is going to be returning to the Chicago Bulls. That's what it seems. Can't say that for sure, but that's what it seems like, is that they are not going to be able to find a trade partner for Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine is going to be back. He's going to be here in the Chicago Bulls uniform next year, and with the hope of both sides hoping that maybe something happens by the trade deadline. Now, to the credit, we've seen overall before players request or want to be traded, end up staying with the team, and maybe they end up working out a relationship later down the road. I'm not saying that that's going to happen here. I'm not saying that it can't happen, but ultimately, they're going to have to put on their big boy pants, and they're going to have to figure it out and try to go out there and win some basketball games. That's what's going to have to happen here, and we'll see if that's ends up being the case. But this was just another report in something that has just become frustrating. Like, it's just become the saga of Zach LaVine, the saga of DeMar DeRozan. All this has just been sad. Like, when you look at it, everything that we built here, except Alex Caruso, has ended sad. Alex Caruso did everything that he was going to do. The Bulls ended up trading him, but it didn't end like sadly. You look at Lonzo. They signed Lonzo. He was the perfect backcourt make next to Zach LaVine. He ends up going down with injury. He hasn't come back. If and when he does come back, this team is going to look very different. They end up giving Zach LaVine the highest contract in team history, and now they're trying to sell him away for peanuts and can't even do that. DeMar DeRozan came here, broke Wilt Chamberlain records in a Bulls uniform. Now the Bulls aren't in a place where they can even entertain bringing him back, and he's sitting in a place now where the free agent market has looked at DeMar DeRozan and said, we ain't got nothing for you. And then Nikola Vucevic, Vooch is Vooch. Vooch is just happy to be here. He got cooked over in FIBA. Freaking Cristiano Felicio was on the team that just cooked Nikola Vucevic, but it ended sad as well. So, with the Bulls picking this new path, hopefully with this, they learn from their mistakes. And I know I said that on an earlier live stream, but I truly mean that. They have to learn from the mistakes that got them there. And there are a lot of mistakes that got them there, both in player personnel, in team building, and in decisions being made and moving off of players faster, whatever. A lot has been made about it, man. And this Bulls off season has brought about a lot of clarity on where things have set. It's made a lot of the question marks that fans have had around this team. It's said that no, those were right. A lot of the speculative pieces, the narrative things, it all seemed to ended up being right when it was all said and done. We have been a poverty franchise and a laughing stock for years. And hopefully AK and Eversley have learned from this. Hopefully the ownership group has learned from this, and that we can start correcting this ship. It's not going to correct itself fast, but hopefully we can. And so to hear that it's reached this point where the Bulls front office looks at it as a worst case scenario for Zach LaVine to be on this roster, and that's still the most likely outcome, that's not a situation anybody wants to be in. Nobody should be left with something that they don't want, which the front office does not want Zach LaVine. And Zach LaVine should not be left in somewhere that A, is not wanted, and somewhere he probably doesn't even want to be anymore. So hopefully this all can turn out and ends up in the best place for the franchise and best place for Zach LaVine. Of course, my first thing is the franchise because I'm a Bulls fan first, but I don't want to see players that did give effort here just be treated like shit either. And unfortunately, that's where we continue to be as a franchise. We're a laughing stock. And it's sad, man. It's really sad, bro. It's really sad that this is where we are. Yeah. TC the trucker says, Haize, I appreciate you, bro, with the around the clock updates on the Bulls. No problem, bro. When I decided to do this channel, that was definitely part of it, man. And the center, and that's I like Nikola Vucevic. Nikola Vucevic isn't nearly as bad as what some people make him out to be. He's not. Sorry, he's just not. And like I saw you yesterday where you said, oh no, that is blaming it on DeMar DeRozan. No, that's just talking about the realities of it. DeMar and Vooch like to get their offense from the same spot. You're never going to get the best out of Nikola Vucevic when he's playing on the team with DeMar DeRozan. That's not blaming DeMar. That's blaming the front office for this roster construction. This is what it is. Zach killed himself when he screwed this team to go get foot surgery. He really did not need to duck a trade to the Pistons by Zach. I hope they keep him away from that team. I feel you. I mean, listen, but would you want to go to Detroit? Why wouldn't he want to be here? The UC packs every night and he gets paid because he wants to win and he wants to play for a coach that he trusts and he wants to play for a franchise that's going to show that it's going to do whatever it takes to win. That's it. Like, you think players really trip off? Hey, the UC is filled every night. I don't want to leave here. No, they care about winning. At some point, every player, whether they were motivated by money, the fame, whatever, at some point it becomes about winning. And it seems like that's the place that Zach LaVine also is. It's about he wants to be able to win. And the first thing when this all initially started, it started with Zach LaVine not having trust in Billy Donovan as the guy. And it turned into a lot of other shit after that. Zach gave effort, but let's not undersell. He didn't even help make things better in his complaining. Facts. That's why I said there is blame to go around everywhere. And I hope that I'm calling this fair. Zach isn't 100% to blame with where this went. The front office isn't 100% to blame for where it went. Billy Donovan isn't 100% to be blamed for where this went. It's a combination of all this shit going on. Everybody has their own place in the blame. I'm sorry. When you say and you come in and you say, yeah, we understand it's probably best to move on. We find a trade for you and you purposely duck the trade by opting for optional surgery. Yeah, that's going to cause some mistrust. But hey, if you also are the player and the team said, hey, these are the destinations we're going to send you to, and then you hear, hey, I'm going to Detroit, that's gonna cause some distrust as well. So, I understand all sides on it. Billy need to go, and pulling his youth movement rebuild will justify the bad seasons for years to come, and AK extending Billy. I see where you're getting in that. Come on, Haize, that dude's trash. No, again, he's not. He's trash defensively, but somebody that averaged 18.5 points per game and almost 11 rebounds is trash, then I would like to see where the rest of the league is, because that's not trash. I mean, what's trash is your outfit and how you dress, but overall, no, Vooch is trash defensively. As a player, he's not trash overall. Sorry. I'm not going to get with that. How you feel this young roster going to do? I really don't know yet, bro. I really don't know. Here's what I'll say is that even if they are worse, like the thing is, winning 39 games for a team filled with veterans is a lot different than a young team that's learning, developing, winning 30 games, right? So even if the Bulls, if you're asking me record-wise, I don't really have a pulse on the record. I got to see how this team is going to play together. First, I see on paper. But even if this team has a disappointing season, it's not the worst thing in the world. The 2025 draft is a big thing in this as well. So, Zach is a third option. No team really seems to believe in his character. We know Zach can hoop, but this team character is an issue. Agree with all this. This is why the value is a problem for other teams. Well, in the contract, right? But yes, I've said this many times. If Zach LaVine is your third option on your team, you're probably a championship contender. That Zach LaVine is still a good player. He's flawed, but if he's your third option, you've gone far. You've gone far. I'm just talking shit with you, bro. I'm just talking shit with you. Like, don't take that personally. I'm just fucking with you, bro, because you've been around forever. KC seemed high on this new roster, especially with a lot of rebuilding in the East. I mean, listen, we'll see. We'll see. Like, I'm not as high as KC is, but I can understand it. So keep it up, Haize. Top-notch channel. Appreciate that, bro. Appreciate that. I'm worried that Vooch and Zach won't be traded, and we'll see a starting lineup of Kobe, Zach, P. Will, Jalen. Listen, I need everybody to understand first. P. Will is not moving back to the 3. This Bulls team has tipped their hands. They've said P. Will is not a 3 on this team. The daydreams of P. Will playing the 3, let's let this go. P. Will not be playing the 3. He's not. P. Will be the 4. That's it. He will be the 4. And the young guys will get 5 minutes every other game. No, listen, the way that the Bulls have moved, they have to get minutes. So I don't think I get the fear. Don't get me wrong. I really do get the fear because this is the Chicago Bulls. It's a Billy Donovan coach team. But I think with the route that they've decided to go with this roster, I think that they're maximized playing those young guys. So would you trust the Bulls medical staff giving he did what he thought was best? Well, I think and everybody has this misconception of what the Bulls medical staff is there to do. The Bulls medical staff doesn't diagnose. They don't do surgeries. The medical staff, all they do is if you get hurt during the game, they'll go and do some MRIs. They'll do some preliminary things, but then they'll send you to a specialist to diagnose you. This is why every time that there's a major injury, we don't find out until 24 hours later because they got to go see an actual specialist. The Bulls medical staff doesn't do a whole lot. So Tay Allen said, "Oh, I'm just making sure. You know, some people get sensitive in here. I know you've been around for forever, so I know you can take the jokes and talk shit back. So it is what it is." Haize, for the league to not want our best two players definitely got me scratching my head because Zach's contract isn't what the new cap would reflect. I mean, listen, the thing is, and this is what I've always said, when it's a Venn diagram. Injuries are a concern for Zach LaVine. Contributing to winning is a factor for Zach LaVine. Contract is a factor for Zach LaVine. You got all three of those things overlapping. If you remove two of those things, let's just say Zach LaVine had a terrible contract, but you knew Zach LaVine contributed to winning, those doubts weren't there, teams wouldn't care what they're paying for the contract. If Zach LaVine, they had some questions about him contributing to winning, but he was healthy and he had a decent contract, Zach LaVine would be moved by now. It's the fact that all three of those things are overlapping. For DeMar, it's just DeMar didn't read the market right. He didn't read the market right, bro. That's what it is, man. Tay Allen says, "We love this channel, bro. I seen you Locked On Warriors and Bleach Report. Keep it up. Good work." I appreciate you, Brody. Appreciate you, brother. Agreed. P will be at power forward. If Zach is here, then Mattis is most likely coming off the bench. Yeah, I would agree to that. And I hate that. But just coming off the bench, some people look at coming off the bench like this slight. Still can play a lot of minutes coming off the bench, especially with Busilis being able to play the 3 and the 4 a little bit. I don't want to see him a whole hell of a lot at the 4 until he puts on some weight. But being able to play that 3, there'll still be a lot of minutes there for him. Solid channel, man. We're moving in the right direction, but do you feel like we can defend well enough? The defense is the biggest problem right now to me if I'm looking at this roster. I'm being 100% honest. Defense is a problem, a big problem. Vooch is a mystery. I can't pinpoint this dude. It's like we know he's good, but not all that good in a Bulls jersey. I just don't know. Straight mystery. Yeah, I would not be surprised if Vooch is one of those players that if he is moved, people are like, where was that Vooch here? And it's really just comes down to the roster construction. That's why I said like a team like Memphis, I know they got Zach Edey, would be great for Nikola Vucevic. They have shooting. They have stars. They don't have to rely on them to do a whole hell of a lot. They have a shot blocking defensive big next to him that can also stretch the floor so he can stay his ass in the middle. I'm not saying he's going to go to Memphis. Not saying that. I'm just saying on paper, Memphis could be a good team for them. So turnovers as well. Great point, JK. Turnovers as well. You're absolutely right on that. Absolutely right. He got moved after having a crazy contract and being as low stock-wise. How is Zach this hard to move? I mean, Ja Wall got moved after being hurt. Well, the difference is Ben Simmons got moved because James Harden only wanted to go to the Philadelphia 76ers. So, for example, if a player said, I only want to go to the Chicago Bulls, and a team's looking like, well, shit, what are we going to do? And the Bulls are willing to make a move. And don't forget, it's not like they also sent a bunch of picks there. That's where that's a unique situation. It's not, everything isn't comparable. You got to look at the intricacies of it. So those are the things that matter as well there. As far as the John Wall piece, if I'm not mistaken, when John Wall was moved, though, he only had 1, maybe 2 years left on his deal. Zach LaVine has 3 or 4 years left on his deal. I think 3 years left on his deal. It's a little bit different there, man. The Horns Over Hoops podcast. It was good, Haize. How about them Chicago Sky? Good stuff, bro. Yeah, I literally came from doing the post-game show there to came over here, so it is what it is, man. Do you think we get the pick next year that's top 10 protected? I hope so, because that draft is deep. And if you have a top 10 pick in that draft, Now we got to trust AK to draft correctly, but you can get a franchise-altering talent in that draft, in my opinion. So why is everyone so giddy about Giddy? He's everything Lonzo is minus defense and shooting. Why aren't most fans rooting for Lonzo's return? Even 85% of what he was, he's better than. That's just wrong. That's not factual. You're always going to root for a younger player that doesn't have injury concerns over somebody who has major injury concerns. And even if they come back to 85%, you got to question how long are they going to be able to stay there. Let's also look at Josh Giddey. Like I said, I like to debunk narratives. When Josh Giddey was not playing with another ball dominant point guard, he averaged 17, 6, and 6. That's not like, I'm sorry, but that's more than most of what Lonzo Ball gave, even without shooting the three. On top of that, being 21 years old, there's still some chance of him developing a shot. I don't want him to be, he's not going to ever be a Lonzo Ball shooter, but maybe respectable. You got to look at it. He's not, and the 3-point shot isn't terrible. People are acting like he's shooting, he's shooting freaking DeMar DeRozan numbers. It's better than that. But then you got to look at the other things outside of basketball. Where did my thing go? I just had cleaning the glass up. So Josh Giddey, that's not the right stat. Here we go. Josh Giddey, for example, is in the 90th percentile in shot creation, meaning this is the number per 100 shots created for teammates. He's in the 90th percentile in creating open shots for teammates. You know why I use that? Because that's better than an assist number, because if the player misses the shot, that's not on Josh Giddey. You get that in 80%. His passer rating, he's in the 95th percentile his passer rating, meaning the difficult passes that he's able to make and turn into open looks. He's into that for it. So he's a really good player on top of being a really good rebounder as well at the guard position. You're always going to bet on youth over a player with major injuries. You're just going to do that. So Josh Giddey ain't trash. So do you think that the new pieces will have potentially losing DeMar to Zach, our point per game will drop dramatically? Yeah, there's definitely a point. Definitely a point to that. Better chemistry without DeMar and Zach. I mean, we did see when they went out, the ball was moving around. Everybody was kind of involved. So we'll see. But all right, y'all. I appreciate you guys so much, man, for tuning into this random live stream. I wanted to go over this report of the relationship being shattered. We've been bringing the best Chicago Bulls offseason content that you guys will find. I think this is episode number 5 or 6 for today. So I love you guys, man. Go Bulls. You guys already know, if any news drops, we drop. It's very simple around here. And I wouldn't be surprised if you guys see my face again later tonight. Love you guys. Go Bulls. See red, y'all. Peace.